All right, there we are. We're live with a couple technical difficulties here, getting this thing up and running, but we are here, and I was saying backstage, I'm particularly interested in this conversation today because of not just because of your roots, but really because of the well, yeah, your background's pretty impressive, but also Avanan has been become a household name in the MSP space over the last 5 years or so. And obviously, where you guys are now is pretty impressive. So I'll be quiet here for a second, and I'll let you give a quick intro of you and your background, if you don't mind.
Sure. So, Gil Friedrich, and thanks, Kevin, for having me here today and for the opportunity. Um, I've been the CEO of Avanan. We started, roughly 2015. Um, Coincidentally, got into the MSP business. We can get to that a little later. But I've been the CEO until we sold Avanan in 2021 to CheckPoint. And since 21, the VP of email security inside of CheckPoint, continuing to do everything. So we're still sort of the Avanan unit inside the bigger company, but also enjoying, what CheckPoint can give us from a market reach and a brand, etc.
Yeah, awesome. Well, congratulations on that. So let's take it back. Let's say way back, right? So always curious about kind of the tech journey, the founder journey, how you got into tech to begin with, and then what was life like before Avanan? What were you doing? And let's peel back the onion a little bit.
So just getting into tech for me was very natural. Like, while part of my family wanted actually for me to be a doctor, I found passion towards math, physics, and also computers from a pretty young age. Um, so when I went to the university, I studied physics and computer science, and continued to my master's. At the end of the master's, I finished my research, and I told my professor, listen, I ran out of money. Do you mind if I find a job? And he said, um, I'm starting a company. Do you mind joining? Do you want to join? And so his startup, even though my thesis was in a different field, in computer vision, his startup was actually in security, IT security. And so that's how I got into the industry. It was a good run there. Um, and I ended up working there for 14 years. So obviously I enjoyed it. I learned a ton. And then what happened was, um, we were selling network access control on-prem, and more customers said, hey, I'm moving to the cloud, great technology, how do I move this technology there, etc. um, and that theme came once and twice and three times, and then you figure, hey, there's something there, the ground is shaking, there's maybe an opportunity to do something different. And what we noticed, not just in email but across the industry, was when you're a large company and someone comes to you and says, can you protect me there? Can you protect me in the cloud, in somewhere else? The thinking of a large company is, how do I take the technology I already have and implement that on the cloud? And we felt like there was an opportunity to ask the reverse question of, how do I protect the cloud? Forget about my technology. What's the best way to protect the cloud? And specifically, we saw the proliferation of APIs, and there was sort of another way, not just a proxy sitting in front, etc. Um, so we started with that, and then the conversation with potential customers was, what's your most common cloud? Office 365. Great. What's your biggest problem? Phishing. Very good. So that's how we zoomed into this area. Started pure API like some of the vendors today, but I think because we were pretty early, we also got the feedback that in order to really one day replace the legacy gateways, you also need to be able to secure inline, to be able to scan the email before it hits the inbox. Um, so we developed that. We patented it because we were fortunate to be very early in this market, and I think from there growth started. So somewhere 2018, 2019, we sort of felt like we got the product market fit, and things really started to accelerate at that point.
Yeah, that's incredible. So kind of going back to the days at Four Scout, because you said you were there for what, 14, 15 years? You were there for quite a while,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I imagine you get to see, obviously not just the growth. I mean, significant growth, but imagine your different roles or capacities, or were you primarily just kind of in kind of down the tech path, or were you exposed to operational, finance, sales, and marketing, kind of the whole gambit?
So I started as a developer
Okay.
very, very early on. After 3.5 years, I became the VP of R&D. I ran the R&D team. Um, and then this was all in Tel Aviv. Um, we had an employee that was one of our first business hires in the Silicon Valley. And after 4 years in the Silicon Valley, his wife wanted to come back to Israel. So they relocated back to Israel, and he became our VP of product. And one of the first things he said to me was, "We have a product we cannot sell." So that started a discussion that eventually led to a pivot that we did at Forescout, and was also the first commercial success. So um, he was also my partner. It's Roy Rotem. He was my partner with Avanan. So we had this, kernel of, um, I would say, very innovative conversation between us that was successful for Forescout, and then later successful for Avanan as well. Um, and then, actually, not because of me, my wife finished her PhD in Israel and started a postdoc here at NYU. And so I relocated, and then Forescout said, "Okay, we're the VP of R&D, be the VP of technology," and that really exposed me to, the business side, BD, marketing, sales, etc. It was 3 years in New York during a time where a lot of the major banks became a customer. So I
Mm.
was really fortunate, to be close to that, to see how they operate, to build some relationships with those CISOs, etc.
Yeah, so you were building at a time where a couple others were coming into the market and trying to, drive, equally as fast in that segment of the marketplace. I'm thinking like some of the, groups like Inky or what have you. I mean, I think you're probably, stepping on each other in a competitive way, in a healthy way, right? In kind of those markets. And then yeah, you could see this kind of trajectory, again, being in and around the space and knowing Avanon just from an arm's length, you can see, man, you guys are doing something right, because it was coming up in just about every conversation. And you guys really hit that interesting slipstream, probably maybe, yeah, 2018 to 2019. So that must have been pretty kind of fascinating to see. All right, you got this kernel of an idea, that this is a problem that's pervasive, but then, to really, get product market fit that fast, right? And achieve velocity that fast has got to be pretty interesting to experience.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it took us until 2019 to get to probably around 200 customers, and then we finished 19 with 1,000, and then we finished 20 with 3,000, and then somewhere in August 21, when we sold, we were already at 6,000, and today we're at about 35,000 customers. So um, it was tremendous growth. Again, for the obvious reasons, cloud computing is the enabler, right? It's the same service for everyone, whether you're a small company or enterprise. It doesn't really matter. Um, I think our biggest growth pains were probably in that range of between 200 to 500 customers,
Mm,
where all of a sudden um, things were not working in the back as we were hoping, not scaling as we were hoping. In some cases, we didn't have the right R&D skills for that growth, because it hits on you, and you're not necessarily ready.
mm,
Um, I remember those mornings where I used to take the train into Manhattan every day. This was pre-COVID, right? So we used to work from the office, and um, I had a local friend here, completely different profession, lawyer, but we would stand waiting for the train, and I would tell him all my problems of what's not working. And he kept telling me this is a good problem to have, and it didn't feel like a good problem to have. It was a terrible problem to have. It was just trying to make everything work. So I think that the business growth, I don't want to say surprised us, but somewhat caught our technology unready, and I think we were fortunate to have the right engineering to catch up quickly, and allowed this platform to grow and catch with the business growth.
Yeah, so you're right in the middle of this, I wouldn't say transition, but this evolution, right? From secure email gateway, and then to your point, there are groups that kind of you jumped on Graph API and kind of doing things from an API standpoint, but along the way, and it's one of these interesting things, and I guess it's just the nature of security, right? It's just there's so much, there's so many threats, so many challenges, but along the way, it's like the threats are not even linear, like they're incremental, they're exploding, right? Any Did that surprise you? I guess looking back, what now 8, 9 years later? I mean, the threats are even more pervasive and damaging. I mean, is that I don't know. Do you think is that how you would forecasted this market to go, or is that surprising? Because it seems like it's just getting worse.
It's always a fundamental question in the following sense that, and we got that from investors, by the way, all the time. The question was, what if Microsoft figures it out, right? And there's no more reason to secure. There's nothing they miss, or there's no false positive, negative. It's just fine. And I always give them the following example. I had a friend that had a company in video acceleration. So they would sell an appliance that would sit in your organization, and as people would watch YouTube and other things, it will just save bandwidth. And then one day, I believe it was YouTube, they added a similar algorithm to their own streaming, and they had no business because their incremental value was so insignificant, so marginal.
Yeah.
So you think, can that happen in security? And my thought of where it's different is that, unlike the example with the video, with security, on the other side are sitting hackers, very, very smart ones, and they're not going anywhere, right? So when you do this, they do that. So it's all that cat and mouse. Every time you do something, they find another way, to bypass, to hack, etc. And it doesn't seem to go away. They only seem to grow more sophisticated, right? We're very proud of the rate we're able to leverage AI. They are probably adapting AI as fast, if not faster. When you look at all the deep fake, the stories about sitting in a video where you think you're speaking to someone, you're actually speaking to a machine. All these examples, are terrible from what they're achieving, stealing people's money, but are quite fascinating from the technology aspect of it,
Yeah.
because they're able to really push the technology to places, that we're hoping to push. So I think that fact that there's savvy technology people on the other side that made hacking their business just means that, unlike the video example, again, it's not a problem that is then solved and goes away. They always figure out a way to bypass whatever we put. And our job is to be, faster and always innovating. I'll give you an example. We saw QR code quishing, what was called later quishing, QR codes used for phishing attacks.
Yeah.
I want to say probably in 2020, the first
Mm.
time we saw it. And it was because protecting links, we became pretty good. Microsoft, became pretty good at protecting links. So they would put the link in a QR code. And we saw the first attack. I remember it. It was a Thursday night. Our team said, oh my God, there's a new attack vector we're not protecting our customers from. We worked all Friday. Saturday morning, it was deployed to our customers. We did an OCR that would scan the QR code, find it, and scan it with all the algorithms for URLs. Fast forward a few years later, it became very popular with hackers, not a one-off. So at that point, Microsoft did something, and now the platform was protecting you from, malicious QR codes. Hackers did something, that would sound trivial. The next step they took was, when the email was sent, the QR code was pointing to a clean URL, and only 5 minutes later, when it's already in your inbox, they would weaponize it, right? We call it late weaponization.
Yeah.
So in URLs, we wrap them, right? So at click time, we scan it again. But what do you do with the QR code? So we developed an algorithm that changes the QR code inside of the image. It's almost like putting our own sticker inside, where it's in a file or in an email, putting a sticker with our own QR code. So when you're in your phone and you scan it and then you click it on your phone, we scan it one more time in real time before we actually allow you to redirect to the
Wow.
original URL. So all of that is transparent to the end user, but it's sort of the example of we do something, they do something, we do something, they do something. And the game really is to try to be as fast as you can, and also to be already in that area, in that technology. So because we already did OCR to images, we were able to do this change quickly and also scan for QR codes, right? If we wouldn't do OCRs, it probably would have taken us longer. Um, so yeah, I think that's again. But to your original question, that's why we. I feel like it's not going away. It's only becoming bigger.
Yeah. How much of your time is spent thinking, or anticipating the next attack vector? I mean, I imagine it's pretty consuming.
Um, Fortunately, we have a large team now.
Yeah.
So when it was Avanan, we probably had somewhere in the area of 30 security analysts that are constantly looking for that trends and that more sophisticated attacks, etc. And now in CheckPoint, it's probably 10 times that. So not just for email, of course, but that's part of the synergy we're getting, by the way. So we could see malicious content coming through a firewall somewhere, or a mobile device somewhere, whatever we protect. We have this huge data lake that we call Threat Cloud,
Yeah.
and all the analysts are working from that. So I think uniquely we have this sort of advantage where we have a lot of points of presence, and I hope that we're able to catch those trends early when they're starting to emerge.
Yeah. Do you see yourself, or is, I don't even know if this is the terms in vogue these days, but is it more to the predictive kind of threat, and so anticipating the threats as you're harvesting all this data, and modeling? Are you able to kind of project out, this is the most likely attack routes, this is where this space is going? So imagine it's probably fascinating, the volume of data that you guys are dealing with.
So um, I mean, I would say a few things. First, it's a massive data, and the challenge is to find the needle in the haystack, right? So to really understand what is random and what's actually a trend. And there's a lot of AI around that, trying to get you a clean signal out of all the noise. I think predicting is very hard,
Yeah.
but just listening and being fast about it, and trying to prioritize it, not when 200 customers suffer from it, but when the first customers experiences it, or when we read about it in an article, in some hackers exposed kind of article, is more predictable and more consistent. So we heard about this, attack where the example I gave with the video and the deep fake, right? So now our brains are thinking, okay, how can we help our customers there? It's not exactly email, maybe the deployment slightly different. Maybe we need to leverage the CheckPoint endpoint security solution or something else. But that's probably coming up, and it happened once, but now it's, hackers are probably working towards more of those, deep fake video conferences or other methods to trick you to run the scam, not just in a phishing email, but some other way. So, and the last comment is really to this is the famous example of making ice. I think Kawasaki mentioned that in multiple of his presentations. But the idea is to think what you're solving to the customer, and not like, we're not email security. We're solving the problem, or we're trying to solve the problem of organization being scammed, by hackers. And now with that goal, yeah, we scan email, but we also have presence on your mobile and your endpoint, etc. And we're trying to think more, holistically about how do we protect our customers from financial scams, from other types of phishing scams, etc.
Yeah, no, I love that mentality, because at times, just saying I do this one thing, I'm in this one product category, mentally, and probably even internally for the dev teams and for analysts, it's like you're focused on this one, one thing, but not thinking more big picture. And I imagine that's got to be one of the benefits of now being part of Checkpoint, is that you've got a large team that you can bounce IT ideas off of. You guys have multi-product platform now, so you're thinking about things in not just one paradigm. You're thinking about them in multiple different universes and how these solutions interact or play together, right? So is that taking a you know was there an adjustment period, getting used to kind of this large organization and navigating it, or was it pretty plug and play and it made sense and everything's just been great since you joined them?
There's a lot of adjustment.
Yeah.
Uh, I think the personal adjustment is that you change from a CEO that can pretty much do whatever you want to now you need to, now you need to do what.
Ye-
There's a structure, there's a decision process. You can no longer do what you want, and even though I honestly feel like we got a lot of flexibility as an organization, we're still part of the corporate when it came to financial planning, HR planning. All those procedures are definitely part of a bigger company. It requires some adaptation. Um, but I had this discussion with very early with the CEO of Checkpoint because I wasn't happy with something and I escalated it to him and he told me something again without being angry. He was very humble about it, but he said, "Listen, you never built a $20 billion company. So you build an amazing company, but it's not a publicly traded $20 billion company. There are things we need to do a certain way." And then I stopped and thought for a second and said, "Yeah, you know what? You're right. So we can't just go and put our company credit card and buy whatever we want." And, so it made sense and it required some adaptation. At the same time, I think, a lot of the growth we enjoyed since, and we're something like 6 to 8x compared to where we were at the acquisition time over 3 years, time period of 3 years. A lot of it is because Checkpoint was able to give us this, global coverage, salesperson in 88 countries, and would have taken us many years to get to that scale if we had to do it ourselves.
Yeah, no, I've been in that kind of similar headspace or situation where it's like, you've got velocity, and do you go left or you go right? And what are the benefits of going left? Because, it's obviously with a group like Checkpoint, right? You get the R&D develop, R&D benefit, you get the go-to-market develop, benefit, the force multiplier effect, this kind of cross-sell, plug and play. Yeah, so I imagine that was pretty enticing. So your views or thoughts on maybe your role in leadership in general, have they evolved? Because to your point, right, you go from being kind of the top dog and and making all decisions to part of a bigger machine, right? And there's always that adjustment period, but you find that change kind of your leadership style, or is it pretty similar? And was that challenging for you?
Um, so I think one thing I did not lose is that I don't take no for an answer, right?
Mm.
So if I think something needs to be done, then I'll insist until the CEO tells me no, but I won't stop before. Um, and I think that's part of what helps us to be successful. The other thing is, um, once Checkpoint noticed that we're able to grow not just as a startup, but also grow inside of Checkpoint
Yeah.
and be successful inside of Checkpoint, we also got a lot of credit. So both sides are much more dynamic and ready to work together, and that's part of what why it really worked well because as much as Checkpoint kept us as this separate unit inside of the organization, um, they gave us a lot of trust and access to a lot of Checkpoint resources, etc. So yeah, I'm really grateful for that. Not all acquisitions work out, and the fact this worked out, obviously makes me very happy.
Yeah, I bet. Congrats there. So what is this roadmap look like? What does Checkpoint look like in the next 24 months with all these, new threat vectors and emerging AI threats and all that stuff? What do you got? What's out there? What's on the docket next 24 months? How different you guys become, or is it just it's just incremental, improvements on what you're doing now?
So we're at the point where um, we want to be the, I don't know, the term. We're about to have a new CEO, right? So our new CEO is coming in mid-December, and the term he used, I heard him say this week, is he said we want to be on the podium, right? So whatever we do, we want to be on the podium, the top three in whatever market we play in. And obviously, from a product perspective, I drink my own Kool-Aid, of course, but I feel like we're already on the podium. But from a market share perspective, you still have the traditional email security vendors that already crossed the $500 million in email sales, etc. But that's where we want to be, and we identify areas that we need to be in that we're not there in. So it's always MSP, for example, right? We didn't talk about that much, but MSP we're very, very successful. It's our fastest growing area, and we invest a lot in MSP, doubling down. So, I'll spend a minute maybe on this. When we started MSP, it was very random. So we were getting leads from our website, and we had a junior guy that was handling 500 below, and we just said, just talk to them because we want to focus upper market, just so there's no noise. And he was selling. And then he started to say, listen, MSPs are coming in. What should they do with them? And we said, just tell them we're not selling to MSPs. Okay, no problem. Once, twice, three times. And he was persistent. Listen, MSPs are calling us. Let's, and they want to give us money. But we said, so we eventually said, okay, let's sign them. And we didn't plan for it, but he told us that the MSP is expected to buy upfront like 10,000 licenses and then sell them over 2 years. That was how business was done at the time with MSPs. But we were selling to customers, consumption-based, pay for what you use, etc. So we told him, no, that's not the model we support. Just tell them, deploy, consumption-based, pay as you go. And they actually loved it because they didn't need to pay upfront anything. As they were selling, they started to pay us after it was used and consumed. So all of a sudden, we had this business model that MSPs loved. I think a lot of our competitors did a mistake where they had a dumbed down version for MSPs, right? So they took features away. Whereas we sold to MSPs the same thing we sold to Fortune 50 customers, the same functionality, the same capabilities, everything. And it was easy enough to install and to manage that it also worked, for an MSP, for a small customer, etc. So from a feature perspective, at the time we were, I think, better than the competition in MSP. The business model was easier to consume, etc. In 2025, things are a little different. So now I feel like with MSPs, we compete with email security vendors that are saying I'm selling just to MSP. So all of my R&D is MSP, all of my marketing is MSP, all of my customer success support, etc. And for that, we also adapted. So starting in 24, we have dedicated support for MSP. In 25, we'll have dedicated R&D for MSP, dedicated marketing for MSP, customer success support, etc. Because as it would sound that maybe it contradicts what I said about enterprise. The features and the capabilities are the same, but the needs of MSPs are sometimes different, right? When an MSP calls the support, they have the customer with them on the line. They can't wait, 3 hours because that's your SLA. They need someone right there.
Yeah.
Or the product, just managing, instead of 20,000 users, 1,000 customers with 20 users, but give them that, one visibility. So these are areas that are specific to MSP, and we want to have that dedicated group. So that's one area. And again, MSP is still doubling for us every year, even though it's already, in the tens of millions in ARR, still doubling every year. I think the other area, we were very Office 365 focused always. We said cloud email, that was how we got to the market, and that's what we'll do. Now with CheckPoint, we're starting to see that actually some people need an MTA, need a SEG.
Mhm.
And I had a discussion with a customer. I call them Fortune 2. So these are like, the largest organizations on the planet.
Yeah.
And he said to me something very smart. I kept explaining to him how easy it is to install. And he said, it's easy to install is not what easy for you. It's what's easy for me, the customer. And for me, I already have a stack with MTAs, etc. And that's where I want you. I can't put you as an app in 365. So, so we're going to invest there as well and be able to deploy all of our security as an MTA.
Wow.
Going back to my previous note, right? It's really listening to the customer and what the customer wants. We believe that will open those Fortune 50, Fortune 100 customers in a much bigger way for us than it is today, because it will allow us to take the last step in replacing some of the legacy vendors. And I noticed there was no email security vendor was able to cross $500 million without selling to that top segment of very, very large enterprise. So we're going to invest there as well. AI is huge, of course.
Yeah.
I'll give one example. We were selected to protect the Olympics, the Paris Olympics in the summer.
Wow.
Not the best customer because they only work for 2 weeks every 4 years.
Right. Yeah.
But still, it was fun,
Yeah.
and it wasn't really phishing, but they were getting tens of millions of emails on day one with just political focus. Why is this delegation participating? Those guys shouldn't be there. Tens of millions, all the permutation possible. And they couldn't block them because of, different languages, different words. They couldn't figure out how. So we told our AI in human language, every unsolicited email with political content mark as junk. So everything went to the junk. They told us we couldn't use email. Now we can use email in day 2. So again, this is an example of how Gen AI and basically the ability to talk to a machine in human language and get results on human language analysis is really driving a lot of innovation towards what we do in email security.
That's fascinating. Yeah. I mean, your ability to adapt on the fly like that's truly impressive. And yeah, I can imagine it's probably not the best of the customers from an ARR standpoint, but yeah, it's a great customer to have nonetheless. But look, yeah, I want to be respectful of your time. I mean, this has been fascinating. Like I said, I've been watching from a arm's length distance, just the evolution of Avanan and what you've done. It's been impressive to see. And congrats on the acquisition. Now, I guess it's a little long overdue. It's been a while, but it sounds like you're doing some really impressive things internally. So we'll look forward to your doubling down on the MSP space and all the cool things you got coming up here the next couple of years. So it's really cool to see. Uh,
That's good. I also enjoyed our conversation very much, Kevin. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, appreciate it. And I guess everybody else definitely check out Avanan by CheckPoint, and we'll have some links in the show notes. And we'll see you here on the next episode of the Channel CEO. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.